You know, if you look at an interview from me from 10 years ago, everybody says, I love that interview. People didn't love it back then, though, because I was speaking to the future. I'm 10 years ahead mentally, and I'm trapped in today's time. And every now and then I crack you a smile for 2013, but I'm cracking you a frown for 2023.
If we know that we are living in a state of the familiar past, or we're living in the state of the predictable future, and the familiar past represents the known, and the predictable future represents the known as well, and the sweet spot of the generous present moment represents the unknown, then in order for us to truly begin to make significant changes, where our body isn't influencing our mind, where our environment isn't controlling our feelings and our thoughts, then it makes sense then that the first step that we have to use in order to meditate is to sit our bodies down and close our eyes and disconnect from everything known in our outer environment. Less sensory information is coming into the brain. Now, all of a sudden, your inner world starts becoming more real than your outer world. If you can sit your body down and, like training that animal, saying to your body, you stay. I'm going to feed you. You can check your emails. You can check your texts. You can post anything on Facebook. You're going to get a shower. You're going to get a cup of coffee. But right now, you're no longer the mind. I'm the mind. Your body's in a program, and where you place your attention is where you place your energy. And the moment you're sitting in your meditation and you start putting your attention on the emotions, familiar emotions that are connected to the past, the moment you start thinking about those memories and feeling those emotions, it makes sense then that you're siphoning your attention and energy out of the present moment into the past. And if you're sitting there thinking about phone calls you have to make, the meetings you have to go to, the shopping list you have to get to, those are all known things in your predictable future reality. And every time you put your attention on some predictable future, you're siphoning energy out of the present moment into the predictable future. And now your energy is completely commingled with that line of time. So then, when you become aware that your attention is on those emotions, and you become aware and return your attention back to the present moment, you're disinvesting your attention and energy out of your past present reality, and you're calling it back to you. Every time you do that, it's a victory, and those victories add up. Now take a look. This is called the quantitative EEG, or QEEG. And what it does is it measures the amount of energy in your brain at different brainwave states. If you see a lot of blue in the brain, that means there's very little energy in the brain. When you see a lot of red in the brain, that means there's a lot of energy in the brain. If you see green, green usually represents normal or average. If you see shades of yellow or orange, you're moving more energy towards red. If you see a light blue and a mid-range blue, you're moving closer to a low amount of energy. And then this area right here, between 1 and 4 hertz, represents delta. This area right here, between 4 and 8 hertz, represents theta. This is alpha here. This is low range beta, This is mid-range beta, and this is high-range beta. So we can determine the amount of energy in the brain in different brainwave states. Now, this is our first case history. If you look at the bottom left-hand side there, you'll see a lot of blue in the brain in mid-range beta. That represents a person who has very little energy in their brain. This person had a very significant amount of depression. 4 days later, we scan their brain again. Remember, green is normal. You see a significant change in mid-range beta. Now, this is high beta up here. See all that blue in the brain? Take a look at 3 days later. You see all that green? It represents they changed their brain by thought alone. In other words, it's not just in their mind, it's in their brain. Here's a second case study. Same exact pattern. A lot of blue in mid-range beta. That represents, again, another person with depression. Take a look at the post-measurement on the right-hand side. You see all that green? That represents normal. Now, this is high beta. Look at all that blue in the brain. Person has no energy in their brain. 3 days later, after doing meditation twice a day, take a look at that change. All that green represents they changed their brain by thought alone, by moving into a new state of being. They didn't need an external substance to do it. They did it by thought alone.
So basically, when our soul is new, when our soul is young, is born, we might say, we are assigned a spirit guide. That guide then works with us, whether we're in body, whether we're not in body. That guide has higher wisdom, is almost always more experienced as a soul than we are, sometimes dramatically more experienced, sometimes only minimally more experienced, depending on how quickly we progress.
I feel that each of us has a group of guides that assists us and helps us in our daily life. However, my clients tell me that they often meet a master teacher guide in their life between life experience who is responsible for overseeing their soul's progress from embodiment to embodiment. And this guide may or may not be intimately involved with their daily life, but is responsible for overseeing their progress over many, many lifetimes.
La ñequea.